Hello and welcome, I am Abyss from Killjoy Gaming, back with you with another deck demo. Today we are flocking to Flunder due to the release of the new Wandering Travels pack that has been released in Master Duel. I plan to cover 3 of these archetypes, that being Flunder Adventure and Suship, believe it or not. Expect the other 2 in the coming weeks. With that out of the way, let's get into Flunder. Flunder is a deck that, at its mechanics, is a Monarch-style deck, which means it tributes some of its monsters. Now looking at my stats for the deck, this is the amount of crafting points you're going to need for about the core cards of Flunder. I treat core cards as the cards that the deck really can't run without, or cards that are in the archetype that are needed in certain quantities, I should say. Starting off with our... Do note that this deck does not require URCP, but it does help in the long run to have hand traps and stuff to save you from hand traps. So with the SRCP, you're running about 420 to 450 SRCP, this being 3 Robina, 3 Floowandereeze in England, 3 Pot of Duality, and Pot of Prosperity. You do not special summon in this deck, like, at all. If you do, I just wouldn't recommend it. But you need to see your starters. Robina is the most important of this. So Pot of Duality and Pot of Prosperity I deem as a core card of this deck. 1 to 2 M-Pen. Sometimes I'm finding that my M-Pen is not either where I want it to be, or I've ran out of Eaglin search targets. So in most cases I run 4 Eaglin search targets, but it might lead to some brickiness. Most people run 3 and only run the 1 M-Pen. I fear God and run 2. And then 1 in Unexplored Winds. I find it in situations, a lot of times I'm searching for this card. If I already have Dreaming Talent, it is my go-to search. Although map is better, sometimes I like tributing my opponent's cards. Also, it's a 1 of, because I search it more because map is a 3 of, because map is important. To the rare CPs, you're looking about 210 to 240 rare CP for this deck. The core of it anyways. That being Floowandereeze and Strix, 3 magnificent maps, 1 Rise of the Mega Monarch. You can use this to spin cards to your opponent's deck to give them cards that won't really help them. Also, you can use Rise's second effect to return himself to the hand so you can loop him, which is always great. And then 2 to 3 Book of Moon. Book of Moon is your Veiler and imperm protection, because this deck has a really high problem at the start of the game getting off the ground. 1 well-placed Veiler or imperm, and this deck is out of its turn plays, because you only typically get 1 normal summon. This can be solved with map, among other things, but you know, more protection, and not to mention you can use it as a tool to stop your opponent from going into Synchro Links and Xyz plays. Then finally, the normal CP of the core deck. You're gonna need 1 Dreaming Talent and 1 Toucan, running you a CP cost of 60 normal. Now, the CP cost of my deck list, specifically, you're going to be looking at 390 URCP, 510 SRCP, 240 rare CP, and 60 normal CP. Disclaimer: since this deck does not normally use the extra deck, any CP costs for the extra deck are not included. Pretty much, your extra deck can be whatever you want. If you want some good cards to, you know, send off of, like Maximus, if your opponent just happens to be playing Dogmatica, I'd use Shirog Ominous Omen, which is a UR, or Entis. But other than that, the extra deck does not matter. Now for the list. Hey look, I'm back. My list is running 1 Duel and Lockbird. This is pretty much a cross-out target because Duel and Lockbird really kills the deck. If they do it on your Robina search, you are pretty much done for the turn. But this card has a quick effect. You can send this card from your hand to the graveyard. For the rest of the turn, cards cannot be added from either player's main deck to the hand. Next, at the start of the show, we have 3 copies of Robina. All the level 1 Floowandereeze cards have the ability, if this card would leave the field, this face-up card specifically, would leave the field, banish it instead. And then each of them have a special on-summon normal effect. Robina's being... They also have the effect that if the effect is used, you cannot special summon during the turn. You activate either effect, which means no special summoning for you if you use a Floowandereeze level 1. Hence why I told you the extra deck does not matter. Back to the normal summoning effect. If this card is normal summon, you can add 1 level 4 lower winged beast monster from your deck to your hand. Then immediately after this effect resolves, you can normal summon 1 winged beast monster. Then this next effect is shared by all the level 1s. If a winged beast monster is normal summoned to your field while this card is banished, you can add it to your hand. So Robina's special effect is adding a level 4 lower winged beast monster. This could be another Floowandereeze card or sadly Barrier Statue, as this is a control deck. Floowandereeze and Eagland. Eagland's special effect is if this card is normal summoned, you can add 1 level 7 or higher winged beast monster from your deck to your hand. And then immediately after, you can normal summon 1 winged beast monster. Your targets for this will be either Mist Valley Apex Avian, Rise of the Mega Monarch, or Floowandereeze and Empen. We are not running Floowandereeze and Snow because it's not that great. And the other 2 we are running are much better. Next we have 1 Floowandereeze and Stry. Stry is on special on summon normal effect. You can target 1 card in either graveyard and banish it, and then immediately after this effect resolves, you can normal summon 1 winged beast monster. This is how the Flunders chain themselves. You normal summon 1, you do what the effect says, you search. Note, if any of these effects are stopped beforehand, like if you stop Robina from searching, you stop Eagland from searching, you can't normal summon. If you stop Stry from banishing, so say someone calls by the target you were going to banish for Stry, it stops the normal summon chain. Finally, we have Floowandereeze and Toucan. Its on summon normal effect is you can target 1 of your banished Floowandereeze cards. Now note, it doesn't say monster card, it says cards, which means you can target map, you can target unexpected winds, or you can unexplored winds, my bad, or you can target Dreaming Town with this effect. More on that when we get to Dreaming Town. Target a Floowandereeze card and add it to your hand. Then immediately after this effect resolves, you can normal summon 1 winged beast monster. Note, if you use the level 1's effects to return themselves to the hand, you're trying to use Toucan's effect, it will not trigger the so if you have a Robina banished and then you normal summon Toucan, you use Robina's effect to return itself to hand, and then you try to use Toucan's effect to return it to the hand, Toucan will not allow you to normal summon. Please note that. Next we are running 2 Maxi, because who isn't running Maxi? Oh yeah, something special to note, since you are normal summoning and tribute summoning and not special summoning with this deck, Maxi is useless against you. So note that anyone playing against Flunder, Maxi will not help you in the slightest. But in it, everyone else is special summoning. But this is also terrible in the mirror match. we are running 3 Ash Blossom and Joy Springs. It's just great to negate adding cards to the hand. Do note that you can chain block if you have one of your level 1 birds banished, making Ash Blossom less effective. Like I said, the most vulnerable point in this deck is when you first start the game. Next we have 1 copy of Barrier Statue of the Stormwinds. Either player can special summon monsters except wind monsters. You do not special summon in the slightest, so you do not care about this. This is mainly a fugly for your opponent. Next we have 2 copies of Dimension Shifter. Since most decks do not run this, I will read the full effect of the card. If you have no cards in your graveyard, quick effect, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard. Until end of the next turn, any card sent to the graveyard is banished instead. This is great for decks that rely on the graveyard. Someone's trying to use grass on you, you send this to the graveyard, and all the cards effect that grass would send to the graveyard is banished instead. Is one of the best examples I can give to you. Next are big boys. We are running 1 copy of Mist Valley Apex Avian, which once per chain, when a card or effect is activated, quick effect, you can target 1 Mist Valley card, usually itself, return it back target to the hand. If you do, negate the activation, and if you do that, destroy it. Now the great thing about this is if it's already on the field, use its effect to bounce to the hand, you can then use a normal summon chain to normal summon it back to the field. Next we have the big boy Rise of the Mega Monarch. You can tribute summon this card by tributing 1 tribute summon monster. I don't usually use that effect, but it is possible. If this card is tribute summoned, target 1 card on the field, 1 card in either graveyard. Also, if this card was tribute summoned by tributing a wind monster, your wind monsters are Eaglind, Tokan, and Imperm. Because I doubt you're going to be tributing Barrier Statue of the Stormwinds if you've got it on the field. Back to the effect. You can target an initial card on the field and place that target on the top of the deck in any order, and then return any additional target to the hand. So, what this effect is saying is you can target 1 card on the field, 1 card in the graveyard, spin those back into the deck, and then target 1 more card on the field if you tribute a wind monster and return that card to the hand. If you do that, you can also choose to return Rise to your hand to immediately do it again. But having Rise in the hand isn't. You never want to draw these cards. You always want to see one of your level 1 birds, preferably Robina, hence why we are running 3 Pot of Duality and 3 Pot of Prosperity. But back to the big boys. We are running 2 copies of Floowandereeze and imperm because I like having Elan search targets. If this card is tribute summoned, you can add 1 Floowandereeze Spiller Trap from your deck to your hand. Then immediately after this effect resolves, you can normal summon 1 monster. Note, this does not say 1 winged beast monster, which means it could be any monster. Some people are running an Ecclesia package. I am not. Now, everything about him is special, as he is one of the big bosses. When this tribute summon card is in a monster zone, your opponent cannot activate the effects of special summon monsters they control in attack position. Note, this says specifically attack position, so if you're fighting a non-link deck, they can still activate their effects in defense position. So as I say, link decks beware. And finally, once per battle during damage calc, if this card battles your opponent's monster, quick effect, you can banish 1 card from your hand. That opponent's monster's current attack and defense is halved. So they have to have a monster with 5,400 attack points to equalize this if they want to get over imperm in battle. Next, I am running 1 Gold Sarcophagus. I know many deck lists do not run this. I am running it because it turns any one of my level 1 birds into a starter, even Stry. Because then you can banish Gold Sark from the graveyard and do more effects. Most of the time I am banishing Robina off of this if I don't already have Robina. Next, we are running 3 copies of Pot of Duality. Escalate the top 3 cards of your deck and add 1 of them to your hand. Shuffle the rest back into the deck. You can only activate 1 Pot of Duality per turn. You cannot special summon it. During the turn you activate this card. You are not special summoning, as these already lock you out of special summoning. Next, 1 Dark Ruler no more. Negate all the effects of all face-up monsters your opponent currently controls until the end of this turn. Also, for the rest of this turn, after this card revolves, your opponent takes no battle damage. Neither player can activate monster effects in response to this card's activation. Ooh. I'm running 1 board breaker. I should probably be running more board breakers, but this deck likes to go first, and in a best of 1 format, I don't really see the need to run more than 1 board breaker, as you want to win the coin flip and go first. Next, we are running 3 Pot of Prosperity. Banish 3 or 6 cards until always be 6 because you do not use your extra deck. Face down, for the rest of this turn, after this card resolves, any battle damage your opponent takes is halved. Also, excavate cards from the top of your deck. Equal the number of cards banished. Add 1 of the excavated cards from your hand. Place the rest on the bottom of the deck in any order. You can only activate 1 Pot of Prosperity per turn. That being said, we are always looking for Robina, so cards that can find Robina are great. We are running Prosperity over Extrav because finding Robina is more important than drawing 2. Next, we are running 3 copies of Floowandereeze and the Magnificent Map. During your main phase, you can reveal 1 Floowandereeze monster from your hand and banish 1 Floowandereeze card with a different name. Then immediately after this effect resolves, normal summon the revealed monster. This helps you get through plays that would be harder to get through. This also makes it so people can't Ash Blossom you because you will have a banished bird in your grave to chain block itself. Additionally, if your opponent normal summons the monster immediately after this effect resolves, you can normal summon 1 Floowandereeze monster. You can only use each effect of Floowandereeze in the Magnificent Map once per turn. So not only does it help you insulate your plays, if your opponent decides to normal summon, you get to normal summon, which makes it a wonderful card to have in your deck. Next, we are running 1 copy of Floowandereeze in the Unexplored Winds. You can conduct a tribute summon that requires tributes by sending 1 monster you control and 1 card your opponent controls to the graveyard instead of tributing. Although this is still treated as a tribute summon. During the main phase, you can reveal up to 2 winged beast monsters in your hand, place them on the bottom of your deck, then draw the same number of cards. You can only use this effect of Floowandereeze in the Unexplored Winds once per turn. Now, this card serves 2 purposes. 1, it serves for any sort of removal that you want that is non-destruction. Opponent's got Pesky back row? No problem. You can distribute it. Your opponent got a monster that is untargetable? That's fine. Just tribute it. Secondly, you can use it for the ability to shuffle 2 of your big bosses that you don't want to see in your opening hand back into your deck. And then draw 2 cards to see cards that you wouldn't normally see. It's a great way to fix hands as well, especially after you've gone through an M-Pen line. Next, we're running 3 copies of Book of Moon. Book of Moon is the best way to stop Imperm and Valor, because we do not have the Floowandereeze search card in Master Duel. So what happens is usually you normal summon Robina, they activate Imperm, you chain book, flip Robina face down, you still get the search, the negate fails, and then later in the turn you can just tribute over the defense position monster. It also doubles as stopping your opponent from Synchro, Lynx, and Xyz plays, as if you book the card that we're going to use, i.e., a tuner, or their only non-tuner, it makes it quite hard for them to go into anything else. Next, we're running 2 copies of Crossout Designated, because I hate Duel and Lockbird, as it shuts off your combos immediately. Also, it never hurts for the mirror match. Do note, D-Shifter is also kind of useless in a mirror match. Finally, we have 1 Infinite Impermanence, again for a crossout target. I like to have as many ways to stop targeted negation as possible. I'm surprised I'm not running a Valor. Oh, I know why. It's a UR. And I do not have I don't have expendable URCP. Finally, 1 copy of Floowandereeze and Dreaming Town. During the main phase, immediately after this card resolves, normal summon one level 4 or lower winged beast monster, which this allows you to start your chain on your opponent's turn when they don't normal summon and you have map. If you tribute summon a level 7 or higher monster while this card is in your graveyard, you can banish this card and change all monsters your opponent controls to defense position. Face down defense position, I should add. So once you finish through a Flunder line and you decide to normal summon Toucan, you can choose to add back a Floowandereeze Dreaming Town in your banish zone because it can banish itself. The extra deck doesn't really matter, but I'm running the most blingiest stuff I can, and I'm running a Zeus line just in case. I don't expect to summon Zeus, but you know, one can never be too safe. With that out of the way, let's get to the game I have got for you, a special one. We are fighting another control deck. This deck being Trap Trick. Now, this was an awful hand. Starting with a D-shifter, just to insulate my plays later. Oh yeah, I also lost the coin flip, which is even worse. They're gonna activate Sarah to search for a trap, or my bad, to special summon a trap trick. I am going to ash that in the butt right now, as they don't need searches. But they seem to be cut off past that. Map is a great pull, but we are still missing a level 1 bird, which is problematic. We are going to go digging, but we get Ash Blossom, stopping our ability to look for her. Note that every card here has been banished so far. Now that the effects of D-Shifter have stopped, my opponent now sees it wise to Monster Reborn, my D-Shifter. I have no clue how this makes sense, but they are going to. We are going to book the other level 4 so they cannot go into Rafflesia. They proceed to go with the Dimension Shifter Beatdown, and we are hoping for a level 1 bird of any kind at this point. Eaglin will do. Next we activate the map. Using the map's effect, we are going to reveal the Eaglin, banish our Robina, and then normal summon the Eaglin, searching for a level 7, chaining Robina so they cannot Ash Blossom even though they have no cards in hand. Robina comes to my hand, and then Eaglin searches for an Apex Avian, because I feel negation would be great here. I normal summon a Robina, get a Stride to banish any unwanted cards. I'm going to normal summon the imperm, chaining the Eaglin so they cannot Ash even though they still have no cards. They are going to bottomless this. Now I really wish I searched a Toucan. I'm going to get Eaglin back to my hand, and then proceed to grab Unexplored Winds. Since they activated a trap, they get to special summon a Marmello to blow up my field spell, and then they are going to search a bottomless trap hole. I am going to use my Street to banish a card from the graveyard, that being Map, and then using Unexplored Winds to tribute their Floodgate, because I don't want them flipping my Apex Avian face down, and my Street attacking into their Sarah to stop any further searches. I do the worst play. I decide to go deck thinning. Grabbing me another map, but now I do not have a level 1 bird in my hand. So if they do not play into this Max C, I am kinda done for. They are going to Harpy Feather Duster my Unexplored Winds. They've had every out known to man, but they decide to play into the Max C. Drawing me a Rise of the Mega Monarch, not great. Hoping for a level 1 bird. Ash Blossom is not it. Barrier Statue of the Stormwinds is kind of actually a really good draw now that I think about it. They're going to go searching with Rafflesia. Thankfully, I have an Negate and Miss Valley Apex Avian. to keep them off of any traps. I'm going to add the Robina back to my hand. We are going to activate the map, target Robina, get an Eaglin, normal summon the Robina, chain block with the Eaglin. Thankfully, a wind barrier statue is a winged beast to trigger any of my level 1 burps. We are going to get that toucan back. We are going to normal summon it, getting back another map. Just in case they decide to blow me up again, grabbing the second imperm from deck, and then normal summoning him, getting chain blocking it with the toucan. Grabbing me my Dreaming Town. Going to the battle phase, we are going to beat over our D-Shifter and their Sarah. And attack with Eaglin. Realizing I have a full hand of cards and a Dreaming Town, they're going to set and concede. Here's my information if you want to follow me. Now back to the deck. This deck has an insane grind game, but it has trouble when it can't find its starters, so it leads it to bricking. That being said, if you can get past turn 1 and 2, you're pretty much off to the races. So I thank you all for watching, and I shall see you next time. Peace, as I look ridiculous.